This is Agent Mode AI. I'm Abby. A vendor posted a launch this quarter positioning the product as ready to run. The phrase is procurement deck noise unless 3 questions are answered. Today we're walking AM146, the claim that vendor accuracy positioning without named task, named baseline, and named methodology is not procurement evidence, regardless of how the rate is described in marketing.
I'm Avery. Frame the 3 questions.
Question 1 is task definition. A vendor claim of 90% accuracy against an undefined task class is not comparable across vendors and is not auditable against the procuring enterprise's actual deployment scope. Question 2 is baseline. A rate without a baseline has no operational meaning at the procurement deck level. Question 3 is methodology. A measurement produced by the vendor's own marketing team on a non-public corpus is not the same procurement input as a measurement produced against a published academic benchmark by an independent research group. The 3 together describe the difference between marketing-grade and procurement-grade evidence.
Start with question 1. What does named task look like?
The procurement-grade reference is the academic benchmark layer. 3 benchmarks define the current standard. CRMArena-Pro, published by Salesforce AI Research in August 2025, measures frontier-class agents at approximately 35% multi-step reliability on a structured CRM task corpus. The corpus is published, the task definitions are documented, the rate is reproducible by external research groups. Carnegie Mellon's The Agent Company benchmark independently reproduces the 30 to 35% range on adjacent enterprise workloads, providing structural rather than corpus-specific confirmation. WebArena is the canonical browser agent benchmark. Frontier models complete approximately 36% of end-to-end web tasks in published evaluations. SWE Bench Verified is the canonical code generation benchmark, and it is the benchmark vendors actually publish against when they want a procurement-credible accuracy claim.
Weigh the convergence around the 30 to 36% range.
The agents complete individual steps competently. The multi-step sequence drifts. The reliability ceiling is mechanism level rather than corpus level. 3 independently developed benchmarks reproducing the same range is the structural signal. The procurement deck implication is that any vendor accuracy claim that does not reference at least one of these benchmarks or a comparable named published methodology is making a marketing-grade claim, not a procurement-grade one. A vendor whose disclosure says internal evaluation across our customer base without naming the corpus, the customer base composition, or the methodology is publishing a number the procuring enterprise cannot reproduce, cannot compare to alternatives, and cannot defend at audit.
Move to question 2, the baseline.
4 baselines are procurement relevant. The human worker baseline, the prior model baseline, the no AI baseline, and the competitor baseline. Same numeric rate, opposite procurement decisions depending on which one is named. An agent that completes a task at 60% reliability against a human baseline of 95% is not ready to run for that task. It is a draft tier capability that needs human review before output goes to the customer. An agent that completes the same task at 85% against a human baseline of 70% on a consistency-heavy data entry workload where humans are bored and inconsistent may be procurement-grade ready. The rate alone tells the procurement committee nothing.
The prior model baseline.
This is where the Anthropic Claude for Chrome disclosure becomes the reference shape. Anthropic's published security disclosure on the launch reports a prompt injection success rate of 23.6% pre-mitigation, 11.2% post-mitigation, and 0% on URL injection variants after subsequent patches, against a defined attack corpus with the patch cadence documented. That is what a prior version comparison looks like at procurement-grade depth. The trajectory is published, not just the snapshot. Most vendor positioning in 2026 publishes a snapshot rather than a trajectory. The procurement decision typically depends on the trajectory.
The no AI baseline.
This is the baseline most procurement decks underspecify. The relevant comparison is not agent versus perfect or agent versus human. It is agent-augmented workflow versus current no AI workflow against the procuring enterprise's own measurement methodology. An agent that completes a task at 70% reliability against a no AI workflow that completes the same task at 65% reliability is procurement grade. An agent that completes at 90% against a no AI baseline of 88% may not be, depending on the per-task cost. The rate is not the procurement decision. The rate against the named baseline is.
The competitor baseline.
This is the most procurement deck useful baseline because it directly informs the vendor selection decision. Vendor accuracy claims rarely included because publishing comparative numbers across vendors is competitively unpopular. The academic benchmark layer is the substitute. CRMArena-Pro, CRMArena, and SWE Bench Verified all publish multi-vendor evaluations against the same task corpus. That is the comparison vendor marketing will not publish on its own.
Question 3. Methodology.
5 dimensions matter: sample size, evaluation type, independence, time horizon, reproducibility. A 90% accuracy claim based on 50 evaluation cases is a different signal than a 90% claim based on 5,000 cases. Red team measurements, production incident statistics, synthetic benchmarks, and human-rated comparisons are not interchangeable. A measurement produced by the vendor's research team is procurement grade if the methodology is published and reproducible. A measurement produced by the vendor's marketing team without methodology disclosure is not. A rate measured against a model release several quarters back is not the same procurement input as a rate measured against the current release. Procurement grade disclosure includes the measurement date.
Reproducibility.
Can an external party run the same evaluation and produce the same rate? The academic benchmark layer is reproducible by design. The vendor disclosure layer is reproducible only when the corpus is published. Vendor ready-to-run claims with non-public corpora are not reproducible and are not procurement-grade evidence. The Anthropic disclosure on Claude for Chrome sits at the high end of vendor-side procurement-grade methodology. The corpus is named. The methodology is described as red team measurement against a defined attack corpus. The patch cadence creates a time series. The deploying enterprise can read the 23.6, 11.2, 0 rates as procurement evidence because the methodology is disclosed at sufficient depth that an external party could in principle construct an equivalent corpus and reproduce the test.
3 classes of evidence emerge.
Reading the 3 questions against the 2026 evidence landscape, 3 classes carry different procurement weights. The academic benchmark class, CRMArena-Pro, CRMArena, SWE Bench Verified, CMU TheAge Company. External, reproducible, multi-vendor, named methodology. The vendor disclosure class at procurement grade, the Anthropic Claude for Chrome pattern, published security and accuracy rates with named corpora, named methodology, and patch cadence. And the named customer audited deployment class. McKinsey's internal Lily platform with approximately 72% adoption, 500,000 prompts monthly, and roughly 30% time savings over a 6-month deployment. JP Morgan Chase's 2023 disclosure of $1.5 billion in AI attributable value across the 200,000 employee LLM suite. BT's Now Assist deployment with 35% case resolution improvement at random checks per Hannah Jalil. UK government digital service with 26 minutes per day saved across 20,000 staff in the 4th quarter of 2024.
Why those 4 customer references count and most do not?
Because the customer's own measurement methodology is named, the population is defined, and the time horizon is disclosed. Adoption metric, prompt volume, time savings, dollar value, case resolution rate, daily time saved rate, each named, each measured against a defined population. A vendor reference customer at this disclosure depth is procurement-grade evidence. A vendor reference customer that is named without comparable disclosure depth is closer to a marketing logo than to procurement evidence. The procurement deck distinction is the disclosure depth, not the customer's name recognition.
How does this connect to AM 140?
AM 140 is the Procurement Committee's 6 pre-pilot questions. AM 146 adds 3 accuracy disclosure questions on top. The pre-pilot question set asks whether the deployment will scale at the procuring enterprise. The accuracy disclosure question set asks whether the vendor's accuracy claim is procurement evidence in the first place. Together, they bound the procurement decision. A pilot authorized on a vendor accuracy claim that does not name task, baseline, or methodology is a pilot authorized on marketing evidence and will land on the McKinsey 23% scaling distribution at no better than the population rate.
Final word.
The 3 questions are auditable. Accuracy on which task, against which baseline, measured how. The CRMArena-Pro paper, the Web Arena and SWE bench verified benchmarks, the CMU TheAge company methodology, the Anthropic Claude for Chrome disclosure, and the named customer audited references are all linked at agentmodeai.com/holding claim equals AM146. AM146 is holding. The next review is on the 8th of July, 2026. The Sunday brief ships every week with what moved on the ledger.
Holding up. See you next Sunday.